Hey, what's up everybody? In this video, I'm going to cover the first selection box for the month of December. I'm also going to show you a gameplay for all 12 of these zooms, so if you're interested in seeing that, definitely stay tuned. I'm also going to share with you my top 3 and also just give you my analysis overall for this selection box to see if there's any of them that's worth investing in. So let's get right into it. For this first selection box, you have until the 13th of December end of day to try to get one of them, if there is one of them that you're trying to get. Now let's jump into it to look at the 12 different zooms that's in the selection box. So for starters, we have Queen Elsa, Holiday Marie, Periwinkle, Dr. Jumba Jookiba, Top Hat Genie, Prince, Cleo, Pinocchio, Kristoff, Mulan, Lumiere, and Nick Wilde. So these are our 12. My top 3 for this, my first number 1, it would be Queen Elsa as my top 3. And Queen Elsa is going to be the best one out of all 12 of these. And the reason for that is because her ability to make really long chains and also will earn you a good amount of coins. And out of all 12 of these, Queen Elsa is going to be your best coin earner out of the 12. Number 2 will be Periwinkle. And I like Periwinkle for the fact that she also earns a decent amount of coins out of these 12. And she's gonna be in that number 2 spot, and she's relatively easy to use if you get the flow of it, so pretty good for beginners as well. And then number 3 was a real toss-up because I was debating between either Kristoff or Holiday Marie, but I ended up with Kristoff because Kristoff does earn you more coins, but he's not necessarily an interesting one because it's not a limited zoom, whereas Holiday Marie is. Holiday Marie is a fun one, has a lot of bubbles, holiday themed, and then whenever you pop the bubble, it makes a bell noise. So it was a real toss-up. My overall analysis for this selection box is that there really isn't necessarily any good zooms in here that's really worth getting, with the exception of Queen Elsa. But given that there's only one good zoom in this selection box, I wouldn't necessarily recommend investing in this selection box because I think that your coins could be better saved for something else. And honestly, none of these zooms is really worth investing your skill tickets in. So if you are strapped for coins and you don't have a lot of coins to spare, I actually recommend you to just skip this selection box and try to get something else. You may even want to save your coins to try to get one of the pair zooms that's currently out right now. Mickey and Pluto is an interesting one, so maybe save your coins to try to get Mickey and Pluto at the end of the month. But regardless, let's take a closer look at all 12 of these zooms by taking a look at their ability, and I'll walk you through what I think of each and one of them. So let's take a look with our very first one, Queen Elsa. Queen Elsa is from the Frozen series, and her ability description is freezes surrounding Tsum Tsum along with the connected ones. I'm currently playing Queen Elsa at skill level 6, so the skill range is going to be extra large, and the ability is going to last a total of 6 seconds. So one cool thing about Queen Elsa's ability, if you look at the top portion of the screen and the bottom, it's in like a frozen pattern. You see how there's snowflakes? That's telling you that your ability is still activated. So as long as you have those little frozen little symbols at the top and the bottom of the screen, you'll know that the ability is still ongoing, so you can keep trying to freeze zooms. So the way it works is during the animation, the frozen area is determined by the connected zoom. So once you connect zooms, either just as long as you have at least 3 connected, it will freeze surrounding zooms. The cool thing about Queen Elsa is that the higher the skill level you have her at, the more area she's going to freeze. So that's one benefit of having Queen Elsa. So Queen Elsa is really good for long chains. If you have those missions that require you to get a really long chain in one game, Queen Elsa is perfect for that, especially if you have Queen Elsa at a higher skill level. You just need to connect a really long chain and it'll freeze surrounding zooms. And also Queen Elsa's ability is stackable, meaning that you don't necessarily need to pop the ice right away. You can connect zooms from different areas, and then once they're connected, as long as they're touching and you tap on the ice, they will break, forming a really long chain. In theory, you could clear the entire screen, which is about 45 zooms, or it is 45 zooms, without any big zooms on the screen. That will be your max chain in any game. Again, that's only assuming you don't have any big zooms on the screen. So Queen Elsa is really good for that reason, and she's also really good for coins, especially if you're able to connect really long chains and popping them at the optimal levels. So at the end of this gameplay for Queen Elsa at skill level 6, I did end up with 2,546 coins, which is really good for coins in this selection box. So not necessarily great overall for coins, but good out of these 12. Next, we have Holiday Marie from the Aristocats. And the ability description for Holiday Marie is for a short time, Marie Tsum Tsum become magic bubbles. I'm currently playing Holiday Marie at skill level 6, So I'm going to need a total of 10 copies of Holiday Marie cleared on the screen in order for me to activate her ability. And the ability will last for 6 seconds at skill level 6. Similar to Queen Elsa, one way to tell if you're still in ability mode is there's a ribbon at the top left hand corner, and also on the bottom you see pink stripes. So that's how you'll know for certain that you are still in the ability. Now what happens during the ability for Holiday Marie is once you're in ability, all zooms that are dropping from the top to bottom will become Holiday Marie as well. So as long as you're in ability, all you're gonna get is magic bubbles. And one cool thing about Holiday Marie is, maybe a lot of you don't know, is if Holiday Marie's bubbles, so when you're in ability and the bubbles are touching one another, you could actually swipe them as long as you're connecting and pop them all at the same time. Alternatively, you could press them like I am doing here right now and pop them in the general area. I found that if you swipe it, it's more efficient to clear a lot more bubbles at once. So I will show you later on in this gameplay on what a swipe will look like for these bubble bursts. But overall, Holiday Marie isn't necessarily great for coins. It is good for magic bubbles in a way, but I don't know if her magic bubbles will count towards magic bubble missions. With that being said, it might not necessarily be that great of a zoom, but it would just be good for collection purposes because Holiday Marie doesn't come around too often. Alright, now so let me show you here what a swipe would look like instead of pressing it. As you can see here, when you are swiping, they do burst a lot faster. It does serve a similar purpose where they're popping really quickly and popping surrounding zooms. So it really depends on you how you want to play. Sometimes it is better if you just press them because the ones you don't burst, the Holiday Maries will turn back to Holiday Maries and you could activate the ability quicker for the next round. Alright, next we have Periwinkle from Disney Fairies. And Periwinkle's ability is gather Tsum Tsum and spawn a special magic bubble. I'm currently playing Periwinkle at skill level 6 and the skill range is going to be large. And I'm going to need 12 zooms in order to activate Periwinkle, and by 12 zooms I mean 12 copies of Periwinkles on the screen to activate the ability. So the cool thing about Periwinkle is the ability also stacks. So what that means is if you activate the ability here, and I got Tigger here spawning a special Tigger bubble, I could technically get another Periwinkle activated and stack the bubble. So I could technically have Tigger on the screen and then another bubble that's on the screen. And I'll demonstrate it here to show you what stacking means. So I activated the ability twice here. Now I got Periwinkle and also Little Oyster. Now does it serve a purpose to stack them? Not necessarily. It doesn't do anything special. So you could technically just pop them. And actually it's beneficial if you pop them right away versus waiting, because when you wait, the special bubble tends to fall to the end or the bottom of the screen and you get less pops that way. So it's actually better if you activate it right away. So the ability, the way it works is when you activate the ability, it will randomly suck up all of one specific zoom on the screen and turn it into one big bubble. So what's cool about that is now everything else around it becomes easier to chain and easier to clear. So that's one cool thing about Periwinkle's ability is for a split second, for a couple of seconds, it makes the game a lot easier and you could chain a lot more because there's a lot less zooms on the screen. That's a similar pattern. For Periwinkle at skill level 6 for me, I got 2,862 coins. So it is pretty good for coins out of these 12 zooms, but overall not necessarily a super good zooms for coins. So if you really wanted to invest in getting a zoom from this selection box, Periwinkle could be an option as well. But overall in this game, probably a pass for Periwinkle. Next, we have Dr. Jumba Jookiba from Lilo and Stitch. And I really just like his name. Jookiba is just a really fun name to say for some reason. But anyways, getting sidetracked here. The ability description for Dr. Jumba Jookiba is clear Tsum Tsum in a zigzag pattern. And I'm currently playing Dr. Jumba Jookiba at skill level 6 and the skill range is going to be extra large. And this skill range is describing the thickness of the zigzag line. So when you do activate Dr. Jumba Jookiba's ability, you'll see Stitch jump from the bottom right to the center middle, and then to the right again, and then to the top left. So essentially it's from a movie where Dr. Jumba Jookiba is trying to shoot a laser at Stitch, and Stitch is trying to dodge that in a zigzag pattern. So if you take a look at the pattern here, you will see that the thickness of the line is about 2 to 3 rows thick, and that's because the skill range is extra large. Now you have Dr. Jumba Jookiba at a lower skill level. That line is going to be a little bit smaller, yielding you a little bit less chain. So one of the strategy in using Dr. Jumba Jookiba is just to make sure that the screen is full of zooms before you activate the ability. It's going to be worth that a couple of seconds where you wait for the zooms to settle before activating the ability, because you will get a longer chain. If you don't do that, you'll get a shorter chain and of course less coins. And if you are using Dr. Jumba Jookiba, the purpose will be to get a lot of coins because he's not necessarily that great for anything else. There's no special missions that he's going to apply for, so for coins. And at the end of this gameplay at skill level 6, I ended up with 2,257 coins, so not necessarily that great for coins. And just to reiterate that out of these 12 zooms in this selection box, none of them are necessarily that great. Next we have Top Hat Genie from Aladdin. The ability description is random effects so random we don't even know what it is. I'm currently playing Top Hat Genie at skill level 6 and I will need to clear a total of 16 copies of him on the screen to activate the ability. And the zoom effects for skill level 6 is going to be extra large. And really Top Hat Genie actually has 3 types of abilities, so we kind of know what it does. You can't determine which ability you get, but there are 3 different types. You would use Top Hat Genie because it is fun, and also it potentially could earn you an okay amount of coins, but you wouldn't necessarily use him specifically for coins. So for the first ability that I want to show you is the one that you've been seeing. For this gameplay, for some reason, I got this ability the most. Essentially what it does is he turns a bunch of random zooms into genies, and this is a special genie that has a white top hat, and you could connect surrounding zooms along with it, making it easier to chain. Now this second one, you're allowed to pick a card out of the 3. So once you pick the card, it will shoot out an X shape, clears a bunch, and if that first card you pick matches that last card, then he will pop the center area as well. So there's an extra burst. If you don't match it right, then it won't burst. This third type is it turns every zoom into only 2 type. So it's either going to just be the front of the head for Genie or the back of the head for Genie. So there's only 2 types. So you can see that there is just a really blue screen or a really dark screen, because that's the front of his head and the back of his head. The idea here is to make a really long chain quickly, allowing you to get a lot of coins or score. So overall, Top Hat Genie isn't necessarily that great because you can't predict what ability you get. So either it's going to be really good or not that great. And out of the 3 ability, I think the X-shaped one is really fun. Also the one where it becomes only 2 types of zooms. The first one is not that great because you do have to still make a really long chain. It's a little bit more difficult. And if you could pick the card right, then it has that extra burst, so that's pretty cool. But overall, Top Hat Genie is a pass. For this demonstration right here at the very end, I was able to pick the right card and burst an extra bubble. So that was pretty cool. It's pretty hard for you to pick the right card, and that extra burst at the very end is worth it because it's an extra burst in the center. But that's so rare that I don't think it's really worth it. At the end of this gameplay, Top Hat Genie, I got 1,913 coins, so not really worth it. Next, we have Prince from Snow White. The ability description for Prince is he turns random Tsum Tsum into Snow White. They can be cleared with Prince. I'm currently playing Prince at skill level 6, so he will turn 22 random zooms on the screen into Snow White. And the idea here is that you can make a really long chain, making it a lot easier to earn coins. But sometimes I struggle with making a really long chain, so therefore it's really not worth it. If you are a player that can make really long chain and could spot patterns really quickly, then Prince is a good option for you. But for me, it wasn't really that great. And at skill level 6, I only ended up with 1,045 coins, so not that great. One of the strategies to using Prince could be that before you activate the ability, you want to just make sure that you already have a lot of Prince on the screen, making it a lot easier to chain the pattern. So that's one way of using it. Next, we have Cleo from Pinocchio. The ability description is tap the bubble that appears and they clear surrounding Tsum Tsum. So I'm currently playing Cleo at skill level 6, and it's going to change a total of 20 zooms on the screen to magic bubble. Well, they're not magic bubble, they're just bubble zooms like you see on the screen. So you could tap the screen to pop the bubble. Another way is just keep playing and the bubbles will pop themselves. I find that to be a very effective way of playing versus popping the bubble, but really it's very similar how that would work. You could pop the bubble and it chains a bunch of bubbles, or you could clear them and causing a big chain like you just saw right there and clearing a majority of the screen. But regardless, I think if you have Cleo at a higher skill level, it could be fun, but at the lower skill level, it does get a little harder. And at the end of this gameplay at skill level 6, I ended up with 1,967 coins, so not necessarily amazing for coins. Next, we have Pinocchio, well, from Pinocchio, and his ability description is clears 2 kinds of Tsum Tsum. I'm currently playing Pinocchio at skill level 6, so I'm gonna need anywhere between 16 to 17 Tsums to activate his ability. The way Pinocchio's ability works is he's gonna walk from the right side to the left side of the stage, and will clear randomly 2 types of Tsums off the screen. So if you are playing with the 5-4 on, what happens afterwards is only 2 types of abilities will be on the screen. And the cool thing about Pinocchio's ability is if you end up clearing a bunch of Pinocchios off the screen, all of those will count towards your next ability, but if you don't, then you do have to find him and chain him for the next ability. So that's really one of the strategies to using Pinocchio, is pay close attention to which Tsums are getting cleared, and if during the clear it wasn't Pinocchio, then the first thing you should try to clear right after that ability is to clear a bunch of Pinocchios. But if you get lucky, and like right here, you do end up clearing a lot of Pinocchios, you do want to just pop the magic bubbles as fast as you can to activate the next ability. At the end of this gameplay, Pinocchio at skill level 6, I ended up with 2,018 coins, so again, really not that amazing for coins. I would say it's pretty average for the selection box. Next, we have Kristoff from Frozen, and the ability description for Kristoff is clears a horizontal line of Tsum Tsum. I'm currently playing Kristoff at skill level 6, so the skill range is going to be extra large. And also, Kristoff is not a special limited Tsum, so you could technically get him in the premium box at the moment. For that, it's not as special. But the reason why I have Kristoff ranked number 3 is he does clear a lot of Tsums and can get you a lot of coins. For example, right here, this ability got me a chain of 34, which resulted in a decent amount of coins for that clear. And also, Kristoff is a relatively easy Tsum to use, so if you are a beginner to the game, Kristoff is very easy to use. One of the strategies to using Kristoff is once you activate his ability, give it a couple of seconds to make sure that there's enough Tsums in the center area before you activate the ability. If there isn't enough Tsums or there's major gaps in the middle, you may want to wait a couple of seconds before you activate the ability. Also, generally you want to get the bubbles away from the center area to maximize the chains, because the longer the chains, the more coins you're going to get. And at the end of this gameplay, Kristoff at skill level 6, I got 2,314 coins, so not too bad, a decent amount for a skill level 6 Tsum. Out of these 12 Tsums, yeah, Kristoff is number 3, but overall in the game, not necessarily that great. Next, we have Mulan from the Mulan series, and the ability description for Mulan is pings appear that can be connected to Mulan, which can be cleared for big points. I'm currently playing Mulan at skill level 6, and what happens during the ability is I am going to change 22 random Tsums on the screen that's not Mulan already, and it will turn to ping. And what happens during the animation is you could connect ping and Mulan together to get big points. So Mulan is assumed that you would use to get big points. Ideally, you want Mulan to be at a higher level before you start using her to get a lot of points. But overall, Mulan isn't that great for points either. It's just a decent one. But if you don't have a high scoring Tsum, Mulan could be a good option for you, because she does kind of play like Gaston in a sense, where it changes a bunch of Tsums into ping and you can connect long chains. At the end of this gameplay, Mulan at skill level 6, I ended up with 1,545 coins, so obviously not great for coins, but okay for points. Next, we have Lumiere from Beauty and the Beast, and Lumiere's ability description is starts fever time and clears Tsum Tsum randomly. So the cool thing about Lumiere is that it's a start fever Tsum, so if you have those missions where you need to have like 9 fevers per game, then Lumiere is a really good option for that. And the way you would want to use that is make sure that you are already in fever before you activate the ability to maximize your fever time. The reason for that is because if you are already in fever time and then you activate the ability, it will count as 2 fevers. But if you are not in fever yet, and let's say like your bar is still pretty low and you activate the ability, that will count as 1 fever. So that's not a bad option. So I would recommend activating Lumiere's ability either when you are relatively empty on the fever bar or already in fever to maximize Lumiere's ability. And at the end of this gameplay, Lumiere at skill level 6, I got 2,057 coins. So it's an okay amount, but really not impressive. And it's pretty much average for this selection box. And finally, we have Nick Wilde from Zootopia. And the ability description for Nick Wilde is clears a bunch of Tsum Tsum at random. I'm currently playing Nick Wilde at skill level 6, and it's going to clear about 28 to 34 different Tsums on the screen. So this number is completely random. There's no way of you being able to influence that number. And the animation is pretty cool. You see Nick Wilde there handing out, I think those are flowers, and they're handing it out to little rats. I don't know if they're flowers, they kind of look like candy as well. But regardless, it's a pretty effective ability. And Nick Wilde is a very beginner friendly Tsum, because with these clear a bunch of random Tsums at once type of abilities, you don't have to prepare for it, meaning that you don't have to set up your screen before you activate the ability. And the strategy to using Nick Wilde will be to spam the ability button when you see that the bar is almost full. So at this point, as you see here, it's almost full. I spam the ability button, and the reason why you want to spam the ability button is any extra charge that goes into charging Nick Wilde will go into the next ability. And the more effective you are with being able to spam the ability button, the more ability you're going to activate per game, and the more ability you're able to activate per game is going to yield you more coins. So that's one of the things that you want to do for actually a majority of these Tsums that when you are playing this game. And at the end of this gameplay for Nick Wilde, I got 2,152 coins, which is pretty average if you think about all the numbers that I've shared with you guys thus far. That this number in the low 2,000 range is pretty much what I got for a majority of the Tsums in this selection box. So overall in this selection box, nothing too great and nothing too bad either. Everything is just average. I think if you are going to try to get one of these Tsums in this selection box, you probably want to only get Queen Elsa. Everything else you could save your coins for later. So that's pretty much it for this video. I hope that you guys found this video helpful or at least entertaining, and if you did, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. And if you would like to see more Tsum Tsum content just like this, where I review different Tsums and talk about the missions and the bingos, feel free to subscribe to this channel because I will do more Tsum Tsum content. And as always, thank you so much for watching.